Yeah, first of all, we are also a B2B provider. We are not very well known in the market, but we have a lot of materials that everyone uses, starting from coating and paints, pharmaceuticals, architectural things, and one of the most important ones is semiconductors, which means we produce the raw material nearly for all the for many chips out in the world. How are we going to do this? We have 4 business divisions. We have Wacker Silicones. Silicone is not only used in Windows, but also in cars and things like that. You see that this is the biggest portion that we have. Also Wacker Polysilicon as the second one, which produces raw material for chips, for the chip industry, also for solar industry, even if this is more tough business than chip industry. We have Wacker Polymers and we have Wacker Biosolutions producing food colors and things like that. So what is the size of the company? Wacker is headquartered in Munich in Germany. We are a German-based company with the biggest production site close to the Austrian border in Burghausen, Germany, which is 100 kilometers southeast of Munich. But as you can see on the right-hand side, we are also in all over the world, in Asia and Europe, as well as in America. We have about 27 production sites all over the world, what you can see here in the black dots, and also technical centers and sales offices around the globe. Now, what might be important to know is how the ServiceNow implementation process started. I think this is not very unusual. We also started with the portal back in 2018. And as Andreas mentioned before, we also started at the very same time with basic processes within the platform ServiceNow, starting from the CMDB and auto discovery as the basis for many, many things. As you know, this is a central thing within ServiceNow. And also in 2019 with strategic portfolio management, service portfolio management, in this case, using the CSDM 3.0 model at that point. We also implemented demand management in the first place, and at the same time, the service catalog, SPM and APM at this time as well. I come to APM later on again, because in the first place we had LeanIX in place as application portfolio management, mostly because we did not want to implement everything at within the ServiceNow platform from the very beginning. Now, what was the motivation? LeanIX as an application portfolio solution had, to be honest, a good user interface and also some other advantages. But on the other hand, we saw very soon that it is decoupled from service management, from service configuration, from project management, from all the capabilities that we used within ServiceNow. So the data structure was not harmonized, even if most of the data values had the same names, but it was not completely the case. And we had problems with that from the very beginning, which resulted in not enough transparency between service portfolio and application portfolio. So what we discussed from the very beginning was, should we create interfaces to use LeanIX out of ServiceNow, or maybe think about ServiceNow APM? One of the key challenges that many companies have, and many of you might have the same experience, is whenever you have redundant data in two systems, that is kind of critical. The results are not 100% precise, and in many cases, they don't give you the correct answers to some of the questions. The data quality at the same time was, at least I would say, different in both systems, which means that the data quality overall is not sufficient, was not sufficient, and we could not really create checks to double check if data fit together, which is the case today. And all the service portfolio management capabilities have been at least difficult to use, because once you do not have all the information firsthand in the same system, you always need to talk via interfaces. So from the very beginning, we had the idea to do something around it. And what you see here is back in 2019, the first evaluation, supported also by PlanHorizon, how we would overcome the situation that we had at that point in time. So number one, we could continue with LeanIX without integration. I just pointed out that this was the option that we did not want to follow from the very beginning. We could try to stronger connect LeanIX and ServiceNow via automatic interfaces. And the last option that we really took a look into was the replacement of LeanIX by ServiceNow. And even if we do not talk about that today, at that point in time, we had the request concerning the GUI, the interface, to keep it similar to LeanIX. As I mentioned, we do not do this today, but at that point in time, we had this as an option. And I think it's easy to read here that option number 3, replacement of LeanIX, was evaluated as the best way we could go because of various reasons, like the CD as a single source of truth, and also not using any interface between two systems. Having all the data in one system was the main criteria. We decided to go for a replacement and implement APM in ServiceNow. Now, I don't want to go into details here, but what we have done following the project path was to evaluate all the functionality we had in LeanIX, and we had those main 5 use cases in LeanIX, and we double-checked if all of that would be possible to implement in ServiceNow as well. To be honest, we focused on 3 of them. The other 2 are not really followed from the very beginning, like special topics and things like that, because we did not use them intensively in LeanIX anyway. So we did not follow all of these use cases, but the main ones. And this was shown by PlanHorizon would be possible to implement in ServiceNow. Yeah, it might also be interesting about the time. You can see here, this was implementation plan for everything about 2 months, so a complete of 8 months in a period. We wanted to prepare the implementation of APM by preparing the CMDB and establish discovery. This was outside the project at that point in time, but then we went into the project, which in the end was exactly like we planned from the very beginning. And in the end, we had LeanIX decommissioned in about 8 to 9 months, and we have nearly the same architecture today as shown here. So now, Nadia, over to you. I think you can guide us through the project itself and give us more details on what we can see here in the transition plan.
Thank you. So now I will share my screen also and continue with the presentation. So I'll go to PowerPoint and then in the presentation mode. So now you should see my slides in a full screen mode. I hope it works. And yeah, we have chosen some highlights. We will go through some standard core APM use case for the business applications that contains of the following steps of first identification of our data, then measurement and identification criteria for the measurement, then evaluation and comparison of business applications against each other so that we can make a decision on which business application.
Madam, may I interrupt you for a minute? I do not see the presentation. Do the other ones see it?
Yes,
We see Günter.
yeah.
Okay, perfect. Sorry about that.
Good. Okay, and you can hear me, so this is also good. So so if we go through this standard core APM use case, let's just see what we have done for each of those steps. I go to the next slide. So for the initial identification, when the project has started, the business applications were maintained in different systems, and the goal was to bring them in the one system, in the ServiceNow, so that it could be single source of truth, so that we have, there was a very important task for us to align on the data structure, align on the data governance, to define responsibilities. And there was a very large work done on that. So all the stuff is get aligned. And we talk actually not only about business applications, we are talking also about business capabilities, about connection of business application to the business capabilities, so that we can see the value that the business application bring to business. And also about import of all possible underlying technologies, software models, application models, different services, and so on. And it's not just also about aligning on data structure and agreeing which fields we should have in the form and how they should be filled in, but also a very important part is to align all that to CSDM, this common service data model, because this gives us a very good possibility to use the wall advantage of having this all data in the one single platform. And then once we are done with the identification, and we can imagine that we have a very nice list of the business applications, we have defined which fields should be filled in, then also can start with the definition of measurement. So how we want to measure the business application brings value, what is the usage of the business application. And for that, ServiceNow gives some out-of-the-box tools. So there are already some predefined indicators, or there are lots of different possibilities how you define such an indicator. And after having some workshops, we have decided that we need some custom measurement criteria. So we were using some query conditions, or simply to say we were adding some fields to the business application that needs to be filled in by the users regularly, and some indicators behind that collect the data and generate the score for the business application. So that once this is done, the business applications can be evaluated against each other, so they can be compared. And for that, ServiceNow provides rationalization page on the enterprise architecture workspace. That's what you see now on the slide, this bubble chart. And it can be configured so that you can show data as per your custom criteria, so as per your indicators that you have defined. And based on this graphical data, you can make a decision. You may see that one business application that is represented by each and single bubble here. You can see if it's, for example, in the right upper quadrant, makes sense to invest in the business application further, or probably it doesn't bring lots of value. So, or it's duplicated, it can be retired. In other words, you can make a decision on a future planned disposition of the business application. And the plan disposition is nothing else rather than a also attribute or a field on the business application form. This is an out-of-the-box attribute. We didn't change here anything, so we use it as is. We kept it like that. And you can make this decision on plan disposition directly from the bubble chart, or you can just go to the form of the business application and document it there. So that is saved, and everyone knows what should happen with the business application further. So that's how we cover this decide step. And if then some action necessary, so for example, if we take example with this retirement of the business application, also directly from the rationalization page, you can create a demand and plan resources, plan timeline on the necessary actions that needs to be done in order to process this retirement and bring this business applications to in the retire state. And this is also possible thankful to this full integration of the APM with the PPM. So that's how those core use case was covered with less customizations, but more configuration that the ServiceNow allows, and most of these actions that are possible to do in this enterprise architecture workspace. And additionally, they were defined clearly this fulfillment structure, this application lifecycle. So the process, how the application comes into the system, how it's been registered, what are the process steps, who is the responsible for that, how the application goes further through the different checkups, and how it's going to be retired, how the request should be created. So this is all now standardized. So roles are known, steps are known, and it's all happening in ServiceNow. Here you can see a screenshot from this catalog items. So ServiceNow provides out of the box already some predefined processes for registration, for retirement of the business application, and they were customized for some special needs here. And additionally, we wanted to support the data quality, because business applications, and if we follow this example with business application record, it should be maintained. There are lots of important attributes that should be set or probably updated on a regular basis. So to support this, ServiceNow also provides some tools like scripted audits or data certifications. They can be hard-coded, they can be also configured. So we were configuring some of them so that they make some data checks as per our definition and create some tasks for, let's say, IT application owners, so that they know they need to recheck or evaluate some data and to confirm that, for example, everything is updated. So we don't need to provide any change, or probably to provide any other value in some field. And additionally to that, we added some widgets on the homepage of the Enterprise Architecture Workspace. So that's most important information, like I have some task to fulfill, or I see some business applications needs attention. They have some fields that are not filled in, and it's very important. So some widgets also can be configured and added to the homepage of the Enterprise Architecture Workspace. So they appear as first and show this most important information. And the last but not the least, the Enterprise Architecture Workspace, there are some dashboards available out of the box. There is a page with the Enterprise Architecture dashboards, but they also can be extended with any dashboard or report you want to create. And that's also what we were doing, so that the users have all needed information in the one workspace. So I think at this place, I can hand over back to you, Günter. If you want, we can just keep, I can keep sharing the screen.
Sure, just keep sharing, because this is, I guess, the last slide anyway. Conclusions, lesson learned. Do we have been successful? I would say yes, clearly yes. The lessons learned of, first of all, once we implemented APM at the very first time, we did not have the complete big picture that gives you the CSDM model as well as the implementation in SPM. And it was a huge advantage to really say, focus on an overall picture that we want to follow. Single point of truth is where the data are. I mentioned before that we had 2 databases. That is really now a big advantage that we see every day. And starting from scratch helps to focus, helps to keep focus, means that we, in the very first place, we tried to implement APM using the old data, and starting from scratch, building up the data again was an advantage in this respect. Standard means out-of-the-box functionality is something you need to focus on. Also using a standard model like CSDM 3.0, I think I don't need to explain that very much. We see that every day. Upgradability, etc., is much better if you keep the out-of-the-box architecture. What was very important for us was communication to the customers, to the enterprise architectural team, because not everyone did understand in the very beginning what was the main purpose of it. So communication was maybe not enough from the very beginning. This was one of the lessons learned. We should have given them more information also during the project and after the project. That would be something that we would focus on if we would do it again. Yeah, and check data quality at any time is really important still, because if you don't have actual data in the system, the results are maybe not good enough. So far to here, that was our lessons learned.